Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. The future of Europe's migration policy was one of the topics at the Brussels summit. Correspondents note that the leaders of Europe's major parties are beginning to change their narratives on migrants. This is because of the growing strength of right-wing parties, which are firmly opposed to the liberal policies of the past. Albania, the continent's first detention centre for illegal immigrants. It was set up under an agreement with the Italian government, which has had to deal with an influx of illegal migrants from Africa in recent years. This is a new, bold, unprecedented path, but one that perfectly reflects the spirit of Europe and that has all the qualifications to be applied to other non-EU countries. The problem is that the Italian solution is unacceptable for many countries. It is as much a matter of scale as it is about the left-wing groups that oppose such camps. Last year, 300,000 people came to Germany illegally. That is far too many. We are very clear about this. We need a system that secures the backbone of our economy and allows skilled workers to migrate. Germany wants selection. Those who do not qualify for admission will be subject to a forced resettlement procedure under the Migration Pact adopted a few months ago.
This was a big decision we took. In April, let's understand that there are gaps. We haven't moved on returns. We need to make sure that the implementation is effective. And let's also look at possibilities to understand the position and situation that individual member states find themselves in within the parameters of our values and international law.
However, this is a significant change in the narrative of European officials from what they were saying only a few years ago. According to commentators, this is a direct result of the growing support for right-wing anti-immigrant parties across Europe. This is a constant trend that we can observe throughout the European Union. Ursula von der Leyen sees that the right-wing parties are getting too strong. She sees everything that is happening in Germany, that is, the growing support for the AfD, mainly because of illegal immigrants. All this has made it necessary to introduce certain rules that will have to achieve the right effect. That is, to score political points where the narrative of closing the borders is needed. The same is true in Poland. The situation on the Polish-Belarusian border is one in which organised groups, sometimes coached by Belarusian services, imported with Russian and Belarusian money, as well as human traffickers. The only idea they have at the moment for this situation on the border is to once again utter these words, which are an embarrassment, that Poland will defend itself, as if these people had declared war on us. Planes to Moscow, to Minsk, there are fleets of buses. These people are brought to our border, prepared sometimes for months to cross it illegally, in order constantly to provoke conflicts on our border. With the presidential elections coming up, the political turnaround on migration is clear. When the vote was taken here in the Parliament on the construction of the border fence, only the Polish People's Party, which was in the opposition at the time, voted in favour. When the majority of the then opposition and now the government denounced the border guards, the army mocked the defenders of Poland's borders and supported celebrities who insulted and humiliated our officers. Now, however, these same people are talking about the need to protect the border. But it has not been without controversy, for example, on the issue of asylum. One element of the migration strategy will be the temporary territorial suspension of the right to asylum, and I will demand recognition of this decision in Europe. No one here is talking about the suspension of the right to asylum. That is a lie. Ultimately, however, it has come to a suspension of the right to asylum for those who cross the border illegally. On the other hand, as opposition MPs point out, the government is planning to build 49 foreigners' integration centres at a cost of more than 400 million zloty. If we read the provisions, every immigrant will have the right to a personal assistant at the expense of the Polish taxpayer. The Polish government has not raised any objections to the forced relocation plans in the European Forum. I expect the current government to be honest. I expect them to veto the relocation. According to the Ministry of the Interior and Administration, there may be as many as 20,000 people in Poland whose asylum applications have been rejected, but who still have yet to leave the country. These are poor people looking for their place on earth. More bad news from Polish business. Group layoffs are gaining momentum. The numbers are growing not only month on month, but also year on year, In August, according to data from the Central Statistical Office, another 27 companies announced group layoffs. This is the worst result since 2022. But millions of zloty were found for rewards, even at the Finance Ministry, the ministry that should be watching the spending of public money more closely. What's going on in the Polish economy?
In August, another 27 companies announced mass layoffs, affecting nearly 20,000 people. Experts are sounding the alarm that such a scenario is repeating itself on the Polish labor market. What is happening to the Polish economy? We want a Poland that fulfills its potential, where well-paid jobs are created for our citizens. A Poland that will successfully compete with other countries, including the most powerful ones, in many areas of the economy. Meanwhile, the data from the Central Statistical Office are alarming. More points need to be added to our map of redundancies. The numbers are growing at an alarming rate. Group redundancies were announced by 5 more companies than in July, and by 7 more than a year ago. In total, 161 companies had made such announcements by the end of August. This is the worst result since 2022. Does all this mean that we are facing a return to the governing philosophy that was in effect during the previous governments of Prime Minister Donald Tusk, with the slogan, "There is no money and there will be no money"? Experts warn that the situation on the labor market is getting tougher. It is influenced not only by the collapse of the German economy, which reverberates throughout Poland, but also by the situation in Poland itself. Unfortunately, this instability of law, of regulations, is the biggest risk that entrepreneurs and companies fear, and this is the reason for their exodus, as well as issues related to rising inflation, so to speak. The opposition is also worried about the lack of investments. In addition, hundreds of billions of zloty have been lost through simple mismanagement. Do you know how much we lost in terms of taxes during the 8 years of their rule? About 400 billion zlotys in the prices of the time, so today it would be at least 500 billion zloty. What makes this even more appalling is the fact that the government spares no expense in paying bonuses to ministers. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs alone has paid out 10 million zlotys in bonuses since the beginning of the year, while the Ministry of Education has paid out 1.5 million zlotys. The Ministry of Finance, which should be the most concerned about the budget, has rewarded its employees with almost 4 million zlotys. This justification for this amount of awards is interesting. Employees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs received awards for... The employees of the ministry received awards for special achievements in their professional work, outstanding results in the execution of assigned tasks, completion of difficult and non-normative projects, completion of tasks in difficult conditions or under time pressure, exceeding commitment, outstanding quality of work, creativity, determination leading to the achievement of set goals. Meanwhile, officials of the National Fund for Environmental Protection and Water Management, appointed under the Law and Justice government and supervised by the Ministry of Climate and Environment, received bonuses ranging from a few to a few dozen zloty. Poland is more than just power, tenure, and privilege. Power comes and goes. That's the rule of democracy, and it's better that way. But Poland itself must persist.
Former British singer Liam Payne, who rose to fame with the boy band One Direction, was found dead after he plunged from a third-floor hotel room balcony in Buenos Aires on Wednesday, triggering an outpouring of tributes from fans. Payne died from multiple traumas and internal bleeding caused by the fall. He was only 31 years old.
Police said in a statement that they were called to the Casa Sur Hotel in the capital's Palermo neighborhood after being notified of an aggressive man who could be under the effects of drugs and alcohol. When they arrived on the scene, the hotel manager reported he had heard a loud noise from the inner courtyard, and the police found that a man had fallen from the balcony of his room. While many of the details surrounding the circumstances of his death remain unclear, Liam Payne had spoken publicly about his struggles with mental health and using alcohol to cope with the pressures of fame. Passersby in central London expressed their shock and sadness upon hearing of the sudden death of British singer and former One Direction member Liam Payne.
I thought it was incredibly sad for his child, basically, and I think that what those boys... I think the fame at such a young age is a very, very difficult thing, and I think that those boys have managed it in different ways, and so I thought it was very, very sad.
He was so young, I think 31, And I just turned 30 earlier in the year, and I just feel like that's so young to just be gone.
Liam grew up in the English city of Wolverhampton.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll obviously hit the community, given it's, he's a local boy. So, yeah, I think it's just a sad day for the community and a sad day for, all the fans alike. So, yeah.
Nobody really knows what happened. I think people just need to have a bit of respect that someone's lost their lives, and he means a lot to his family. He's a dad, he's a son, he's a brother, and he means a lot to people, and especially our community as well. And it's just really sad just to hear about it.
Liam was a friend of my mate Lee. He used to run the sausage van around the corner, and he was from Bushbury, Lee. And I think it's very sad, but I think what has happened is he's kind of got burnt out by success. And obviously the accident's tragic, but I think he was already going a bit haywire,
Today is a very sad day for all fans of former boy band One Direction. Fans from all over the world are mourning the death of beloved singer and songwriter Liam Payne. Earlier today, fans held an overnight vigil outside the Buenos Aires hotel, where the singer was found dead. During the vigil, fans sang a One Direction song, Infinity, to pay homage to Liam. Liam Payne's sudden and tragic death comes as a shock to many fans, known as Directioners, who grew up listening to One Direction songs and later supported the singer in his solo career. Fans also lit candles and clapped for the 31-year-old performer before holding a minute of silence.
I didn't expect it. It was a shock. I was at home. I didn't even know he was here. Still, I thought he was at the USA. And a shock. I'm in shock still.
One Direction meant a lot to me because I was at a stage in my life where I wanted to feel like I'm a part of something bigger, and being a Directioner was that for me. When they came to Argentina, my family made a big effort so I could go see them. However, we didn't have a lot of money, and I decided not to go. I gave that up. This was the only time I was able to clap for Liam. Rising to global fame as part of one of the best-selling boy bands of all time, Liam Payne, like his bandmates Harry Styles, Zayn Malik, Niall Horan, and Louis Tomlinson, went on to pursue a solo career after they went on an indefinite hiatus in 2016. Payne's last single was Teardrop, released in March this year.
It turns out that the outfits from major designers may find their way to the moon. Italian fashion house Prada and US company Axiom have unveiled the design of the spacesuit in which astronauts are expected to return to the moon as part of the NASA Artemis 3 mission planned for 2026.
The so-called New Space Mobility Unit is a combination of advanced functionality and aesthetics to cope with the harsh lunar conditions.
So it really requires extreme engineering, fantastic manufacturing capability and innovation. And that's why I'm so proud to be associated with Prada.
Without the suit, we would survive in space for a maximum of 1.5 minutes, but would lose consciousness after just 10 seconds.
In terms of design, I think, first of all, like this kind of project, functional design is always the rule number one. And I think it roots back a bit also in the origin of design and fashion in general, where if you look back in the history of design, like all the choices were mainly driven by functional reason, not just aesthetical reason.
Traditionally, the spacesuit is made of a white material that reflects heat and protects astronauts from the extreme heat and lunar dust.
And creating this flight design has truly revolutionized spacesuit development. Two very different leaders in their industry have come together to deliver the next generation spacesuit for the return to the moon, and for the first time ever to the South Pole.
When an astronaut goes into space, the spacesuit becomes a kind of personal spaceship that should be tailor-made. That's probably why the cost of a single unit with a backpack and apparatus exceeds $15 million.
That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, have a good night and a better tomorrow.